Hi guys, JP from FSiPanel. On this video we are going to see how to properly de-ice a 737-800. This is required in the latest FSiPanel 2020 Advanced Editions, where we are flying from Zurich to Geneva on a very snowy day here like we have in the winter in Switzerland. So I'm going to show you how to start that training scenario, and we are going to go all the way up to the takeoff, and then I will let you finish by yourself the scenario. If you want me to fly the whole scenario in a live session, please drop your comments in the section down below, and I will schedule a live session with you to show you the whole flight of this scenario. All right, before I forget, please subscribe to the channel, and let's jump in the cockpit and see what we are facing today. The weather is not very good, and the aircraft has been sitting on ground for a couple of hours already, so we need to do some stuff. So let's jump in the cockpit. Okay, we are in our cockpit. One of the first things you want to do here when you jump into your seat as a first officer will be the normal preparation of the aircraft. You have some extra steps for winter ops, which will be, of course, the windows heat. We switch them on anyway, even if it's not winter operation or if it's not very cold outside. This is the procedure to switch on the windows heat. But you can see here that the probe heat are off, and this is where we have them normally when we do our preliminary and pre-flight checklist, and we usually switch on the probe heat during the after start flow. In the winter operation, we start right away with the probe heat on, and this is to prevent them from icing and to de-ice them even if the aircraft has been sitting on ground for a couple of minutes or even hours sometimes. So now we want the aircraft to start getting warmed up. We have the APU as well running, and the cabin is getting warm as well. This is good for our passengers, and this is as well good for the fuselage of the aircraft. So if we look outside, our fuselage might be covered with a bit of snow on the top here, and as well you can see sometimes on the side a little bit of snow or frost. By heating up the cabin, you might melt the snow on top and on your fuselage. Now, another important step will be to check your wings. Here on MSFS, it's not properly simulated, but here, for sure, we're going to have some snow or some ice on top of the wings, which is not very good. And as well on the bottom of your wings, this is something to check when you do your walk around. So that's the kind of things you want to make sure you are checking. Why do we switch on the probe heat? Let me show you that on the aircraft itself. So here we are on the right hand side. Here on the first officer side, you can see here the pitot-static systems. We have the standby and the first officer, and as well we have the angle of attack sensor, which is right there. So this is very important that these guys are starting to heat up right now to avoid any problem later on when we go airborne. So in the captain's side, we can see as well the systems here, the probes. So those have to be warmed up right now, right away. Otherwise, we might run into issue later on during our takeoff roll. And the takeoff roll will be very important as well, that we cross-check the speed and instruments during the takeoff roll to make sure there is not a side which is frozen and the other side working, or both not working properly. So we check carefully the indication during a takeoff roll. All right, let's jump back into the cockpit. All right, so here we are back in the cockpit. We are having a nice hot coffee. The passengers are coming on board. The cabin is warm, and we already know that we need to de-ice the aircraft. So the captain has done the walk around, and due to the actual weather, it's continuing to snow. The temperature is probably around 0 degrees or something like that. And we might taxi for a while, so we don't want to take any risk. We need to de-ice the aircraft. So let's have a quick look at the 80s, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and FSiPanel scenarios, and see how is the weather.
18, runway 28 closed. For runway contamination, refer to the latest SNOTOM. Expect remote de-icing at Bay Charlie 1 or Charlie 2. Acknowledge received Zurich departure information Tango. This is Zurich departure information Tango. Departure runway 32. Arrivals expect ILS runway 34. Transition level 75. wind 250 degrees at 4 knots, visibility 600 meters, moderate snow, cloud overcast 100 feet, overcast 3000 feet, temperature 0, dew point -1, QNH 1018, runway 28 closed. For runway contamination, refer to the latest SNOTOM. Expect remote de-icing at Bay Charlie 1 or Charlie.
All right, so what we get from the 8 is it's contaminated. There is snow in progress, moderate showers of snow, temperature is 0 degrees. We are departing from runway 32, we are landing on runway 34, and there is a published SNOTOM. So I'm going to show you here the lesson plan to see the SNOTOM, and then we can have a quick look at what are the conditions of the apron and as well the runway that we are going to depart. All right, so this is coming directly from the lesson plan that you will get with that scenario. You can see the weather in Zurich, Geneva, and the alternate on this flight, Lyon, which is a nice alternate. We only have rain there, but in Geneva, as you can see for your arrival, visibility is 1,000 meters, light snow for the time being, but becoming visibility 700 meters with snow. In Zurich, we can see that we have showers of snow, and temporary we have 500 meters in heavy snow. So this is quite challenging. We have to be careful and do the proper procedures for de-icing and taxiing, engine start. So we are going to do that all together on the 737. NOTAMs, we saw that the runway 10 and 28 is closed, no problem for us. And here we have a SNOTOM for Zurich. Runway 32 is cleared 75%, so 75% width of the runway is cleared. And then we have the decoder, and I made it for you right down here. So it's standing water, 3 millimeters on the runway. The braking action is medium to good, and they are using by default de-icing type 4. So this is what we have as informations for the runway conditions. So we expect the runway to be cleared 75% of the width, and to be covered with water 3 millimeters. So this is a contaminated runway, and we are going to use the tablets to calculate our takeoff performance. FSiPanel has done it for us, but we are going to cross-check that everything is done properly. All right, so we have the information. Let's jump back in the cockpit. Okay, here we are. We have the aircraft weight. We receive our load sheet. 57.8 is our zero fuel weight, and I decided to take a bit of extra fuel. If you have a look at our flight plan, you can see that the minimum fuel right there to depart the airport is 5 tons. So I took 6 tons, and we can see 57.8 as zero fuel weight with the final load sheet. So we have about 1 ton extra fuel, which gives us roughly around 1 hour, half an hour. So here you could even take more if the weather conditions are not good. So I will typically take 1 hour. Now for the demonstration, I will take only 1 ton extra. So we are departing with 63.8, the reserve 2.1, final reserve is confirmed here. It's 2.5 in fact here. So let's change that. This is for the 737-800, so let's put 5 here. And the cost index is computed with 26, and we are going to cruise at flight level 170 by the flight plan. Right there. All right, so 63.8 is our actual gross weight. We might taxi for 15 minutes plus de-icing, but if we want to be conservative, we are using that weight for the performance. So 63.8 and 25.3. So let's have a look at the performance tablet. All right, here we go in the tablet. Let's go to departure performance. Performance tool, we are Zurich, we are departing runway 32, and the runway condition is standing water. We cannot select the depth, like 2, 3, 4 millimeters, and well, this is like so in the simulator. In the real airplane, you could select here what is the depth of the water standing. Here, it's only good to select standing water. That's good for the simulation. Takeoff flaps, let's leave it to optimum. The rating, we will leave it to optimum, but you will see that in contaminated runway, we are not supposed to use the assume method. We can derate, so we can go takeoff 1, takeoff 2, or takeoff, but we cannot assume. So let's see if that is taken into account in the PMDG tablet. anti-ice, 10 degrees or below with visible moisture. We are going to use engine anti-ice on. Why we don't use wings anti-ice? Because if you are using, if you are de-icing, we've ordered a type 1. Type 1 basically is hot water. This is just to remove ice that you could have on your wings. And then basically there is no precipitation and you can depart with like this. Now we are using type 2 or type 4 usually. Type 4 is the main type we are using in Europe. And this is very sticky. It goes on your wings and you can see this green layer on your wings. So if you use your wing anti-ice, you are going to heat up that type 4 and it's gonna stick, and the engineer will be very happy to clean the aircraft. On top of that, you will lose performance. The FCOM even said that during the takeoff roll, you will feel that the aircraft is a little bit heavier than usual. This is due to the fluid that is washing out. So it takes a couple of minutes for the fluid to completely be out of your wings and to have a clean wings. So this is to take into consideration. If you are de-icing, do not use your wing anti-ice. Now the weight of the aircraft, we said 63,800. Let me type in here, and the CG was 25.3. Here we go. And the packs, we will depart with packs on. Wind, it was light and variable, like 270 at 4. Temperature is 0 degrees, and the QNH is 1018. Calculate, and as you can see, assume thrust is not available. So we have to depart with takeoff 1. 92.17 on the N1 flaps 5. So let's see that here. If I go N1 limit now, takeoff 1, that's correct. 92.1 is shown here, 92.1 is shown here. And if I go to takeoff, I have flaps 5. 25.3 is my CG, that's correct. And I'm seeing for the speed from the QRH, if you go here, wet, if I would go even contaminated, let's see what she gives. She's giving 133, 137, 146. And this is 136, 137, 146. So conservative, you will take the lowest V1. That's never harming. Or you can just go with this one. On the real airplane, they will match. And V1 could drop a lot because of the acceleration stop distance available, depending on the contamination of your runway. So we have the speed, we have 146, autothrust is arm, and 4.8 is set on my trim. Basically now we check our performance and we can go ahead and request our ATC clearance. All right, so I have the correct frequency right there, 121930. Let me pick up the ATC clearance. Zurich delivery, hello, this is Swiss 7 Lima Victor, stand Alpha 17, information Foxtrot, request clearance to Geneva. It's Boeing 738.
Swiss 7 Lima Victor Gritzy, you're cleared to Geneva as found. Runway 32, debit 4 November, climb 5,000 feet and scope 4211.
Roger, clear to Geneva as filed, runway 32, Vebit for November departure, climb 5,000 feet and the scope 4211 for Swiss 7 Lima Victor.
Swiss 7 Lima Victor, your readback is correct. So do you need de-icing?
Affirm, we will need de-icing Swiss 7 Lima Victor.
Copied. When ready for push, contact apron 121.755. Have a nice day.
Roger, when ready for push, 121755. Bye-bye. Okay, 121755 is the next one. The score is 4211. 4211. We have the departure, runway 34, 5,000 feet and Vebit. 4 November out of runway 32. That's correct. That's what we have. Perfect. So clearance is checked. We have requested de-icing. Good. So now we are going to prepare the pushback with GS6 and we are going to have the procedures. So there's a couple of things you have to consider. If we go outside, now what can be a threat for the aircraft? The wings can be completely frozen. So basically you have a frozen wings here, and you are going to use your flaps, and you might damage a little bit the aircraft here. You might harm the aircraft by, for example, going and extend your flaps. So we are going to delay a little bit the flaps until we de-ice. And when we do the pushback, we are going to basically start our engines, and then we are going to skip some items in order to have the aircraft safe to taxi to the remote area. Let the ground crew de-ice the aircraft properly, make sure everything has been de-iced, and then we are going to check our flaps, our flight controls, and then we will be departing safely to Geneva. All right, so let's request pushback and call GSX. All right, do we need de-icing treatment? Here, I will select no, because we are going to de-ice at a remote area. This will be at the stand. So with GSX, you can do it later on, so select no. Perfect. Let's go for the checklist. Pre-flight checklist, oxygen tested 100%, navigation, transfer, and display switch. They are normal and auto. Windows heat on. Pressure adjustment mode selector is auto. Flight instruments heading, I see 182, 183, and 183, and this should be 314. And QNH 1018, 1018, 1018, reading 1400, 1400, and 1400. Parking brake is set, and engine start lever cut off. Pre-flight checklist completed. Let's go before start, please. So fuel pumps on, seatbelt sign on, clear to pressurize. Let's check that we have at least 3000 psi, 2800 here. We have 2800 or above, we are good. And anti-collision light comes on, and the transponder will go to altitude reporting off so they can see us on ground. Checklist, please, before start. Flight deck door is closed and locked. Fuel, we have 6 tons and we have 4 pumps on. Passenger signs on. Windows, they are locked and locked. MCP, V2 is 146, heading 314, 5,000 feet. Checked. Takeoff speed, we have V1 133, rotate 137, V2 146. CDO pre-flight is completed. Rudder and aileron trim, free and 0. Taxi and takeoff briefing are completed, and the anti-collision light is on. Before start, checklist completed. All right, let's call for pushback, and we are ready. Apron hello, Swiss 7 Lima Victor Alpha 17, ready, push and start.
Swiss 7 Lima Victor Apron, grid C. Push and start approved, facing east.
Push and start approved, facing east, Swiss 7 Lima Victor. Okay, facing east, so nose to the left, facing east. Remove PMDG chocks. Okay, so we are on the APU, GPU, good. Remove GPU. Here we go. Roger. So we are starting pushback. Now the aircraft is completely frozen, not ready to fly, and we are going to make this aircraft flyable. So in winter operation, it's always very important to take your time, read your checklist, do not rush. We have seen so many accidents and incidents because you want to rush and crew forget something very important during the process. So be very careful and be conservative. You know, if you're like, maybe it doesn't need a de-icing, but you're going to taxi maybe for 20 minutes. Then when you are in queue for departure and it's snowing, then you have this very bad feeling. Is it too late to go back de-ice? What about the wings? And you cannot see your wings from your pilot seat. So if it's snowing, if it's raining, if the temperature is very low, don't take any risk. You have passengers and you are the pilot in command. Just go for de-icing, and that's the best choice. All right, now for sure with this kind of weather condition, there is not even a question. Everybody will go and de-ice. which will give a hell of a delay on the airport, sometimes hours of delay for your slots. All right, so we are almost completing our pushback, and we will do our engine start. Pushback almost completed. Let's start engine number 2. So same procedure, normal procedure to start the engine. Backs off, and we start engine number 2. Here as well, if the engine is cold, you will see a very slow rise of the oil temperature and of the oil pressure. So this is normal if the engines are frozen, and you have to pay attention to what you are doing. Set parking brake. Yeah, brake set. 25% fuel. And now we are checking fuel flow. Light up. And you can see the oil temperature will raise slowly. The oil pressure, 13% or above. We should see the low oil pressure going. And now we are waiting for 56% and the removal of this red EGT limit, which will tell us we have a normal start. So let's tell GS6 that we have a normal start so we don't lose too much time.
We have a good engine start. You can disconnect.
55, 56. This so switches to off, starter valve cut out, and we are waiting for the red start limit here to get out. And we have a normal start on engine number 2. All right, start engine number 1. 1 and 2. Of course, you will never do a single engine taxi on this kind of weather. This is not allowed. And it will be very bad to do that, of course. 23, so we are reaching 25. Fuel. Fuel flow. Light up. Oil pressure rising. Around 13%. Lower pressure should go. We are monitoring the oil temperature, oil pressure, and waiting for 56%. This is your hard limit for the engine start, EGT-wise. So 50, another 5%. At 56, you will see the switch. And we are waiting for the starter cut out. Now we are waiting for the red indication to vanish. Here, see, it takes a little bit longer in cold weather, and we have a normal start. All right, so now what we have to do, the first officer will go with his flow. So generator on the bus. Here we go. Now we go up here. Let me bring the overhead, sorry. So we have the generator on the bus. We already have the anti-ice as required. Now we go to the air. So we are going to put again packs to auto, the isolation valve to auto, APU to off, and we interrupts. We use the APU only if needed, so that's good. We can shut it off. We don't need it. And we are going to switch the engine start to continuous. And now don't forget to switch your engine anti-ice on. That's it. And now we can go back to our captain seat and see that we have anti-ice on. Now at this stage, we check that the engine parameters looks good. For the time being, that's fine. And we will not select the flaps, and we will not do the flight control yet. It's better to do that once the aircraft has been de-iced properly. So basically, we'll postpone this, and we will go now for taxi. All right, so generators, they are on, probe it's on, anti-ice on, isolation valve is auto, engine start switches are continuous, recall checked, auto brake RTO, engine start lever, idle detent, flight control to go, and ground equipment clear left and clear right. That's good, we are clear to go. Swiss 7 Lima Victor, ready for taxi.
Swiss 7 Lima Victor, taxi inner in Juliet, 828.
taxi inner, Juliet, all short of runway 28, Swiss 7 Lima Victor. All right, taxi light on, and taxi inner, Juliet, all short of runway 28. So we are right there. We pushed from stand 17, so we are going to go inner, Juliet, which is the first left, and all short of runway 28. Then, as per the ATIS, we expect to cross the runway and to go to Charlie 1, Charlie 2, or Charlie 3, which are the three de-icing pad here, remote area for runway 32 and 16. So we are departing 32 today. So then probably we are going to taxi to Hotel 3. So that's what we are going to do. So let's go ahead and taxi the airplane now. All right, brakes, release. And here you want to taxi slow to make sure you're not skidding. So maximum 40% N1 to start moving. And then we will taxi at around maximum 10 knots. And if possible, 5 knots during the turn. All right, so let's move. Here we go. Yeah, typical weather in Switzerland during winter time. It's quite interesting to fly, but you have to be on the spot. All right, so Juliet, I'm expecting the next left to be Juliet. See, ground speed around 9 knots, 10 knots maximum. Juliet is coming. So we'll take a left here.
Swiss 7 Lima Victor, all short, runway 28, and contact apron 121 decimal 855. Have a nice day.
Roger, all short of 28, and contact apron 121855 Swiss 7 Lima Victor. Bye-bye. Okay, this is runway 28. It's closed by NOTAM, but we have been given the clearance to hold short. So let's contact the apron on 121855. Apron hello, Swiss 7 Lima Victor, approaching runway 28 on Juliet.
Hello, Swiss 7 Lima Victor. Cross runway 28, taxi de-icing pad Charlie 2, and report ready to resume taxi and when de-icing is completed.
Roger, cross runway 28 and taxi to de-icing pad Charlie 2. We call you back, ready to resume taxi, Swiss 7 Lima Victor. Okay, we are crossing the runway, even though it's closed. I just switch on the lights. This is a good habit to do. We are crossing an active runway, not an active runway, sorry, closed runway, but anyway, I just switch on the lights. Okay, we crossed. Lights off. And we are going to Charlie 2. So if we look again at the chart, the first one is taxiway Bravo, then Charlie 1, Charlie 2, Charlie 3. Fine. So this is taxiway Bravo. Then we're going to have Charlie 1, Charlie 2, and Charlie 3. So now I'm going to take GS6, and I will tell GS6 that I need de-icing service, and I will use runway 1028 Charlie 2 as instructed by ATC. Request follow me, no, and here we go. So now if we see here, we can clearly see the 3 de-icing pad, Charlie 1, Charlie 2, and Charlie 3. So we are going for Charlie 2, which is coming right here. So let's go Charlie 2. Here you can see that we have some guidance. So we're gonna get here when we have to stop, just like when you're approaching a gate. So let's do that now and stop the aircraft whenever we have to stop it in order to de-ice the aircraft. Taxi forward, slow down, and stop here. Perfect. Parking brake is set. All right, now that we reach our de-icing pad the staff will be coming, but the aircraft is not yet ready to be de-iced. So we have a couple of steps to be done in order to start de-icing the aircraft. If we would de-ice the aircraft right now, we have air coming from the bleeds, and if the fluid is going to the engine, which it will go to the packs, and we will have some smoke and some very bad smell in the cabin. So we have to configure the aircraft for de-icing. So how do we do that? We have a procedure. Let me show you that. Okay, so the first thing we want to make sure is that the flaps are up. That's something, and this is why we didn't extend the flaps for taxi. Imagine we would have flaps 5 now and some snow in between, and now the procedure asks you to retract your flaps. Now you can really damage your aircraft. So this is why we didn't extend any flap. So that's good, we have flaps up. Then the thrust lever idle, that's already the case. Then we need to have the stabilizer trim in the takeoff position. So this is what we have already, we checked it before. So this is something that we have set. Now we need to switch off the bleed. So we are going to switch off bleed air. So let me bring the overhead. So we are going to switch off bleed air on engine number 1 and engine number 2. So by doing that, we make sure that there is no possibility that the fluid is going through the engine bleed to the packs. So that's what we are doing. Engine bleed air switch off, APU bleed air switch off. It's already off as we are not using the APU on our departure today. And then we are basically ready to de-ice. We will have to wait 1 minute after the end of the de-icing to switch on again the bleed. So do not switch the bleed immediately after the de-icing, but wait around 1 minute. So now our aircraft is ready to de-ice. So I'm going to go to GS6 and I will tell request de-ice. Now something to be very caution. We look at the time when we start de-icing. Sometimes we call it two-step de-icing. One step you will have hot water just to clean the wings, and the second step will be type 4 fluid to protect your wings and to have some anti-icing. Okay, we are going to use type 4. All right. Thank you. So normally, if you do type 4, you will have 2 steps, which is first step, clean the wings with hot water, type 1, and then type 4 will protect your wings. And we take the time when we start with the first application of the type 4. So you take your time here, and it's a good idea to make a passenger's announcement, because usually you might have a little smell and people will be concerned what's going on if they look from the window. As you can see, it's always nice if the captain makes a quick announcement telling we are now de-icing our aircraft. It will take around 5 to 10 minutes maximum, and we will be on our way to Geneva. So that's a good thing to say, and they are usually de-icing. Most of the time we de-ice the wings, as you can see now, the aircraft, and the stabilizer. So that's the 2 fuselage. Most of the time it's not required unless the aircraft has been sitting on ground for a long time. So this is something you will do, your wings and your stabilizer. So this is what we are doing now, and the passengers are watching that. For us, we are looking at our table. Unfortunately here we do not have a table, and I don't want to share a table which is basically an old one, not updated. What you have to know is with this kind of weather condition, you probably can taxi for 25 to 30 minutes with type 4 100% without any issue. So if the de-icing finish at 10:24, then plus half an hour, 10:54, from the time we begin. All right, good day. So here the guy told you, normally it should tell you the time it started, the second application, the type 4. It should give you the quantity, the type, and with this information you can go on your table and find out when you need to depart. So we started at 10:18 plus, let's say, 25 minutes. So that's 10:45. Let's put it 10:45. So at 10:45 we should be airborne. So now this is the time you write in a paper, and now you need to make sure you get airborne by 10:45. So usually in Zurich, as we saw, and in some airports where they are used to snow, it's very nicely organized. When they give you the clearance to push back and to taxi to the remote area, you are already with your slot. So once your de-icing is complete, you are very close to your takeoff runway, and you should be on your way very soon. All right, so now we need to do a couple of actions. So let me show you what you have to do now. De-icing has been completed, so we have to do a couple of things. So around 1 minute we have completed. We will put the bleed back on. Good. So now the bleed is back on, and we might smell some bad de-icing fluid. Normally not, but it might happen a little bit. Not that bad. So this is normal when we switch on the bleed. So this is why we wait 1 minute. Then we are going to go with a flight control check. So at this stage, we're going to check that our flight controls are free and working normally. That's fine. So it's been de-iced properly. That's working. Now for the flaps, we have to do something very, very special on the 737. We want to check that the flaps are moving completely. So we have to extend the flaps all the way to flaps 40 to check that the movements, that the flaps are working properly, and then retract the flaps up to make sure that we have a free movement. So we are coming to flaps 40. Now we have flaps 40. So we are retract the flaps to flaps up. And now you will have another consideration. The FCOM says if you expect to taxi now for, let's say, 10-15 minutes, then it is advisable to taxi with flaps up and then extend your flaps to the takeoff setting, to the takeoff flaps, just before getting airborne, just before lining up the runway. So here my runway is right there. So I'm expecting to be airborne very quick. So I will set already my takeoff flaps. But if you will taxi and you'll be number 3, number 4, just taxi with flaps up. When in fact we could do it. So let's taxi with flaps up, and we delay then the before takeoff, which we have to do. So now we are going to do the before taxi procedures and have a look at this. So generator 1 and 2, they are on. Then the flight control have been checked. The flaps have been checked and they are up as per now. So if we look now in our checklist, if we look at the before taxi, what we were missing was the flight control. So now the flight controls are checked. So we are clear to go. We have, however, the flaps at 0. And this is why we have the next checklist, which is the before takeoff checklist, obviously. And this is where we have to make sure that we have the flaps at the correct position and that we are within our holdover time, which is 10:45, as we said. All right, so let's request taxi and let's go back. Swiss 7 Lima Victor, we are ready for taxi.
Swiss 7 Lima Victor, taxi holding point Hotel 3 via Kilo.
Taxi holding point Hotel 3 via Kilo, Swiss 7 Lima Victor. All right, Hotel 3 via Kilo, as expected. Lights on. Here we go. Taxi to Hotel 3. So we have a short taxi, and we will have to configure the aircraft for takeoff. So now we are taxiing the airplane, de-iced. Flight controls have been checked. We use a little bit of the brake as well to make sure that the brakes are working. They are not frozen. Everything seems to be working perfectly well. Indications look normal. The engine parameters are good. And we will leave the engine open because we'll need to do a run-up.
Swiss 7 Lima Victor, when ready, compact tower, 118.1. Safe flight.
Order when ready, tower 1081, Swiss 7 Lima Victor, bye-bye. All right, so when ready, so that's good for us. So we're gonna have to do a run-up. This is in the FCOM. 70% N1 for 30 seconds. Check all the engine parameters are normal. And when everything is good, then we can release the brake basically and go. So this is to make sure that we are washing a little bit of the fluid as well on the stabilizer. And this is to make sure the engine parameters are normal. Good. So I am here. I'm going to set the parking brake. And now what we are going to do is set our takeoff flaps. So it's flaps 5. So let's go flaps 5. We check the trim, 4.8, 4.8. And I just wait for the flaps to be 5, and we will do the checklist before takeoff to make sure that we are ready to go. 10:45, 10:27, that's good. Flaps 5, green light. So if I have a look at the before takeoff, flaps 5, green light. And the stabilizer trim is 4.86. We have 4.8 here. Before takeoff, checklist completed, and all overtime is good. We are within limit, so we are ready to go. So I'm going to contact the tower and tell them I'm ready to depart. Zurich Tower, Grid C, Swiss 7 Lima Victor holding short runway 32. We are ready for departure.
Swiss 7 Lima Victor Tower, hello, runway 32, line up and wait. Expect departure in around 1 minute.
Roger, line up and wait, runway 32, Swiss 7 Lima Victor. All right, line up. So we are going to put lights on here, strobe, TCAS, and cabin crew take off in 1 minute. Cabin crew is advised. I will have terrain as there is no weather, and let's line up the runway. So we have to do a run up. So we have to hold the brake, advance the thrust to 70% for 30 seconds, and after that we can start our takeoff roll. So do not go back to idle. Just hit your TOGA switch, check your takeoff thrust, and we get airborne. So that's what we will do. Now we line up the runway. As you see, we burned 300 kilos of fuel for these procedures, taxi and de-icing. So that might be much more if you're in sequence. All right, runway is identified. The heading looks good.
Swiss 7 Lima Victor, wind light and variable, RVR 700, 800 and 800, runway 32, clear for takeoff.
Roger, clear takeoff, runway 32, Swiss 7 Lima Victor. All right, we are cleared for takeoff. Let's put the lights on. Now ATC, they know the aircraft type. They know that most of the airplane will not do a rolling takeoff. They have to do something in winter operations, so they will not worry too much if you stay on the runway, as long as you don't stay like for 5 minutes. Here we are. So I'm on the runway. We are clear for takeoff. Everything is set, so I'm holding my brake, and I will advance the thrust now to 70%. So let's go 70% and do a time check. We have 70%. We look at the parameters. Vibration are good. Low temperature is good. Oil pressure is good. We have correct N2, correct N1. Everything looks normal. So now we wait for the 30 seconds. We are 20 seconds. I will already clear the page here. Everything looks good. And what I will do now, release the brake and hit TOGA switch. 30 seconds. That's it. Release the brake. TOGA. N1 TOGA, set takeoff thrust. Thrust set. $80 knots. Throttle hold. Gear up. LNAV. (400 feet, VNAV speed). Command A, LNAV, VNAV speed.
Swiss 7 Lima Victor, contact departure. 125.955. Schöner Flug.
125.9055. Bye bye, Swiss 7 Lima Victor. 25955. Departure hello, Swiss 7 Lima Victor 3400, climbing 5000, VBIT for November.
Swiss 7 Lima Victor identified. Continue climb 7,000 feet.
Continue climb 7,000 feet, Swiss 7 Lima Victor. 7,000 feet set. So approaching 4,500, the aircraft should start the acceleration. Here we go. Positive trend, flaps up. Flaps 1, sorry. Flaps 1 and speed check, flaps up. Flaps up, no light. Now we come to the after takeoff checklist, after takeoff items. So this is something as well to be careful, all right? So here we go with the lights. Do not switch off the engine start switches. Why? Because we still have the anti-ice on. So this remains on. Then auto brake off and the parking brake off. Good. Alt, FMC speed, VNAV alt, we're approaching 7,000 feet. So whenever you need anti-ice, your engine start switches have to be in continuous. So when you do the after takeoff items, make sure you leave your engine start switches to continuous if you have the engine anti-ice on. Still in icing condition, so we expect that we can climb very soon. And as soon as we get out of the cloud, then that will be the end of this video. And as I said before, if you want me to do a complete flight with you guys and answering your question, just write it down in the section, in the comment section, and then we can plan and organize this flight where we are doing the whole flight together. All right, now the aircraft accelerated to 250 knots. We had the restrictions at the waypoint here 210. That's why she maintained. And now we just hope ATC will give us the next altitude, and then we'll be able to climb above this cloud layer and to be out of icing conditions for the flight to Geneva. So let's just hope we get that clearance soon. Now we're already out of icing condition.
Swiss 7 Lima Victor, climb flight level 130 and proceed direct VBIT.
Climb level 130 and proceed direct to VBIT, Swiss 7 Lima Victor. All right, 130. Alt intervene, N1 VNAV speed and direct to VBIT. VBIT is confirmed, executed. Aircraft is turning to the right, synchronizing the heading. And we are climbing position transition 7000 standard, which is set, and the junior is on standard, passing 7.1 now. Cross check. All right, we are climbing. So now you want to get out of the icing condition. You see my speed is 250. If I want to go faster, I can go speed intervene here and just reduce a little bit the speed. Let's say 230 knots. And now you will see the rate of climb increase. And the idea is to get out of the icing condition as soon as possible. Here we go. Now you are safe. I can give back the control to VNAV. Switch off the engine anti-ice. Then my engine start switches can go to off. We are passing 10,000 feet. Beautiful ahead of us. Lights off. Seatbelt sign to automatic. And off we go. We can enjoy your coffee and a nice flight to Geneva. So this scenario will bring you to Geneva, where you can get two kind of approach. Either runway 22 is in use, and then you're going to have a straight-in approach, or maybe you get ILS 04 with an arrival, and the weather is not too good for ILS 04, so you might have to go around, and then you will be offered runway 22. So the best way to know it is to check your ATIS, 12345.
Swiss 7 Lima Victor, contact the Swiss radar, 128.9er.
128.9er, Swiss 7 Lima Victor. So you could check the ATIS, or if you contact Geneva, which we will do now, most of the time they will tell you what to expect. So let's contact them and see. Swiss Radar Hello, Swiss 7 Lima Victor, flight level 110, climbing 130 to Vebit.
Swiss 7 Lima Victor, Swiss Radar Bonjour, identified, climb flight level 170, and be advised runway 22 in use in Geneva, low visibility procedures in force.
Roger, climb 170, runway 22 in Geneva, LVP in force, Swiss 7 Lima Victor. All right, so we have runway 22 on that scenario, and right now my box is programmed for 04, which was the flight plan. So if that happened to you, make sure you change your flight plan, and make sure you listen to the ATIS,
This is Geneva information
which should
uniform.
say that runway 22 is in use,
22, ILS approach,
and you have low
transition
visibility in
level
force.
80, wind 240 degrees at 4
So that's
knots.
it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this short video showing you how to depart with icing condition, the icing procedures. And now we just have to do a low visibility approach in Geneva. Bear in mind that it's snowing as well in Geneva. So the idea here is not to do any holding with the flaps extended. So remember that if you get some holding, do not reduce the speed and do not use your flaps. You want the aircraft to be clean and to avoid holding if possible. If they ask you for holding, make sure you stay out of cloud. Request ATC to stay out of cloud. Then if you start your approach, try to be configure your aircraft as late as possible to extend your flaps, let's say at around 15 miles, flaps 1, and then flaps 5, and gear down at around 2,000 feet AGL, and configure for landing to be stabilized 1,500 feet, or let's say 1,000 feet AGL to be fully stabilized. So that's the idea in icing condition. As long as you have the aircraft clean, it's better. If you use gear down flaps 30 or flaps 40, then the aircraft can pick up a lot of ice and become heavier, and then that affects the performance in case of go around. All right, so let me know if you want me to do the whole flight with you. Otherwise, I wish you as always to stay safe, and I see you next time for another video. And thank you for watching, and please subscribe to the channel. See you next time. Bye bye.